Justin Herbert could have been selected in the first round of this weekend's NFL draft, and he's projected to be the number 1 pick for 2020. But Oregon fans, of course, just happy and proud that he's still in Eugene. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, breaking down the game we love. Online here each and every day, 24/7, 365 with the best bloggers, broadcasters, and writers in the industry. Grab the Amazon link down in the description section below to help us build the channel if you want the content to continue and the best discussion, debate, and analysis. We've got Ryan Winter on the line from 503 Sports. Ryan, how you doing today?
Great, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. I appreciate you jumping on board because the Oregon spring game was a couple weekends ago. And I also appreciate the fine photos you sent me via email. It looked like a picture perfect day.
Awesome. Yeah, it was a great day. These days in the spring game, a lot of times spring football is not something you look forward to as a team or as a fan base, but we're really trying to build a lot of excitement here. Last year ended on a pretty high note with getting a good defensive victory, and then this year they're just trying to build for it. Just like you said, Justin Herbert coming back is the star of the show, so pretty exciting.
Yeah, please, of course, like the video, comment, and share the videos to your Oregon and Pac-12 friends and family and social media acquaintances. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, talking up the Ducks and putting a wrap on the spring with Ryan Winter. So what are your takeaways, not just from the spring game, but as you take away everything that you took in from the entirety of the 15 sessions plus the big wrap-up on the spring day where you were right there on the sideline?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway is offensively, we have a receiver core that you can actually depend on. Last year, you had one receiver who ended up going to the NFL, who pretty much got all of the catches. I think the second place receiver had almost less than half of the catches that Dylan Mitchell had. So this year, you've got Juwan Johnson, who comes in as a transfer from Penn State, and he looks all of it. He's 6'5" and really beefy. He's got size. Looks like automatically he and Justin Herbert have a good relationship. Their timing looked good. And then the freshmen. You have a bunch of freshmen coming in. Again, we've talked about recruiting a couple times here. Recruiting is getting better and better and better at Oregon. So every year you have these spring games. It's really an opportunity to have those early enrollees come in. It's their first live action in front of anybody they can really see. So obviously Kayvon Thibodeau, the number 1 recruit last year on the defensive side, looked really good. But also we have a couple guys on the offensive side that look really good as well. So pretty exciting times.
Ryan Winter on the line talking Oregon football. You can join him right here on YouTube at 503 Sports. Well, when you look at the totality of the team, both sides of the football, who are some of the guys maybe you know more about today than you did a month ago? And hopefully you know a little bit more and you like what you see and what you hear.
I think it's all about the backup quarterback. For years and years, backup quarterback's one of everybody's favorite topics to get into. Tyler Shuck is his name. He's a sophomore. He looks the part. He looks like Herbert. He's a big kid. He can throw the ball a variety of different places on the field. We haven't really seen a good backup quarterback at Oregon for years. I mean, literally since Marcus Mariota. When Marcus Mariota came back for his last year, not his senior season, his redshirt junior year, there was an exodus of quarterbacks. And after that point, Oregon had a really difficult time of having 2 quarterbacks in the room. You could try to get one of them in. Vernon Adams came in as a Band-Aid, but your backup was terrible. And so you could not have a better opportunity this year than have Justin Herbert come back for his senior year and have the kid who's actually projected to be the next starting quarterback still be in the program. So he looked really good. Herbert got to play on one side. Tyler Shuck got to play on the other side. So you really got to see a full breadth of their offensive skills, and Shuck looked really good. All the media reports, everybody in Oregon was saying, finally, we got a backup quarterback.
So you like what you see at receiver, more depth, more diversity on that side of the ball, and with that unit in particular at wide receiver, you got a backup quarterback that you're more comfortable with than you've been in the past. We'll go negative. Concerns that you still hold.
I think concerns are always defense for Oregon. I think Oregon's always been able to score the ball, but whenever Oregon has an elite defense, not just a good defense, not just a kind of a great defense, but for Pac-12 standards, elite defense. Again, our Pac-12 numbers for elite defense are very different than some of the Big Ten and SEC defenses. But when Oregon plays good defense, they find themselves in a Rose Bowl or better. In the years past, they've had really good defenders coming strong off the edge, having really good linebackers. This year, we have a great staff. So you've got Jordan Scott, who's a stud in the middle. He's your defensive stalwart right in the front, defensive tackle. And then you've got Troy Dye, the man on the defensive side. He's actually equal almost to Herbert, I feel like, on the defensive side. He calls out all the plays. He's been playing as a since he's a freshman, since he was a freshman. And his younger brother is the backup running back as well. So I think defensively is always the question mark. Hopefully this year's defense comes together. The cornerbacks are always a trouble. Pac-12 will burn you over the top. And if you're not ready on the safeties or the corners, you're going to get points scored against you, especially against teams like Washington State that throw the ball as much as they do.
Which, Ryan, you know better than I do, has been one of the keys to Washington ascension to the top of the Pac-12 and being the best program in the conference right now. Is the defensive backfield has been stellar, one of the very best in the nation over the past few years. And if you don't know that from watching the games, you know that from watching the NFL draft.
Exactly.
Over the past 3 years or so. It has been astounding. Got Ryan Winter on the line, talking Oregon sports. You can join him at 503 Sports right here on YouTube. Of course, this is Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, where we break it down across the Power Five in particular. Please like, comment, share the videos, and subscribe right here. And of course, you can help build the channel and keep it going by doing your Amazon shopping by grabbing the link down in the description section below. Recruiting, Luke Hill is a cornerback, a 4-star that just committed, your 6th verbal commitment. You've got another guy out there, Avante Williams. He's a safety, another 4-star, like a top 40 to 45 player that's ever been brought in if the commitment holds and they actually sign by the Oregon Ducks. So I got to tell you, Ryan, of course, this became a glamour program like that in the late 2000s. And then for about a 7 to 8 year span, it took a dip. And now it seems to be a destination again and a place that some of the top talent in the nation just automatically considers once again.
Yeah, I really think that, we were hoping for having immediate payoff, immediate returns right after our first opportunity against Auburn, 2011. We thought, here come the recruits. 2012, 2013, 2014. And we did get some better classes. There was a little bit of an uptick, but it really wasn't what we thought it was going to be. And then all of a sudden Chip leaves after the championship route. Then now we're left with the Helfrich era, which we know now was very poor in recruiting. They just didn't offer the amount of kids. They didn't have the same sort of success. When Cristobal comes in, now we're hearing kids say, it's my dream school. And they never got offers. So now we're offering all these kids. And you know what? I kind of think about it in terms of these were kids that were very small when this was happening. These were kids that were seeing this glamour, seeing this hype, West Coast. They were seeing the uniforms. They were seeing the buzz, Nike, whatever the case may be. Now they're getting an opportunity. They're coming out here and they're seeing it's not just flash. There's substance here. And there's also a very good family connection with these coaches. These coaches are talking a very, very good game right now, but they're also paying off. They're also really, really getting with the families. That's the biggest thing, I think, in recruiting. If you can get the families on board, then you can get the kid on board. They have pictures with the whole family, the parents, the mom and dad. They're all super happy. They bring everybody out here to see the facilities. Once you see the facilities, it's hard to say no.
Ryan, it's a point that you're making that I made about Miami a few nights ago, talking about the Canes, and I hadn't considered this with Oregon, maybe not over the same length of time. But a lot of 35, 40-year-old guys out there are big Miami fans that grew up all over the country because they were they were swag, they were the new wave, and college football was drenched with your traditional powers, the 7 or 8 that owned the sport for a long time. And Miami made the big splash in the early 80s, and it continued mostly up until about 2000, 2001 in that range. And Oregon kind of had that microwave dynasty as well, in a much more microwave capsule there, as you point out, and it's maybe paying off now.
I agree. I think the biggest thing is that social media has really helped Oregon. Right when the social media thing started booming, Oregon really started to put a lot of investment in it. They started to track the numbers. They were rated as the #1 played team on Madden or on any of the video games. They can track all that information. They were the #1 social media team. They had the most likes or the most posts or the most retweets or any of that kind of stuff. And again, that might not be important to me as a 40-year-old guy, but that's definitely important to a 17-year-old kid. And I think that's where you're able to get this new kind of crop of kids that are excited about Oregon. You're getting it through these edits that they have. There's a department of team working just on Twitter or YouTube or Instagram or any of this kind of stuff. It seems crazy, but it's working.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. As you can hear, we do our best to deliver the best in discussion, debate, and analysis from myself, but I also bring on the best bloggers, broadcasters, and writers in the industry. Ryan Winter, 503 Sports. You can catch him right here on YouTube talking Oregon football. A lot of highlights during this season as well, Ryan.
Definitely. Lots of highlights. Again, I try to get to the games. I try to film everything that I can, somewhat covertly, I guess, if you want to go that route. But I try to just get game footage. There's a lot of times there's kind of hard time to get full game film from some of these games or the practices that I go to. They're kind of on lockdown a little bit as of late. They're kind of scared of getting some of that footage out there or whatever. And I'm not really with that. I think that you should be giving the fans what they want. We have fans all over the world that are just hungry for more duck footage. And so I'm just trying to give it to them. So I try to get there. I've got great seats at Autzen. I try to film almost every single play. I try to catch the highlights and try to deliver to the fans. That's what we're here for.
That's great stuff. Folks, you can keep us going by helping us build the channel. Grab the Amazon link down in the description section of any video, including, of course, this one. You grab that, and it doesn't cost you a penny. You just use that to enter Amazon, and you help us build the channel. Also, you can catch us over on Patreon as well, and join the fun as we build that out. All right, let's dive into the NFL draft. We talked recruiting a second ago, and I correlated this to the SEC success a few nights ago in regards to there's no coincidence that they bring them in droves on the front end from high school ranks into college football, speaking of the SEC in particular, or your successful program of choice, and then the funnel goes out the other way 3 to 4 years later into the NFL. Yes, there are all sorts of misses on both ends of the recruiting front, the underappreciated that turn into stars and vice versa, the busts that were 5 stars. But by mass, it generally turns out the way it was predicted, again, in mass. And for Oregon, a number of guys actually were paid off of their hard work, their talent at the NFL draft this weekend.
Yeah, it was a good day. I mean, I think, Oregon has never been the team that puts guys up in the first round, second round, and stacks the box. We might have a couple. We had Deion Jordan a couple of years ago, went very high. You obviously Marcus Mariota coming off the Heisman win. We've had our fair share. Joey Harrington back in the day. We've had our fair share, but most of the time where Oregon really does a good job is getting those guys late in the rounds who actually then have a chip on their shoulder. They have something to prove. They go into camp and they actually do fairly well. So we had a bunch of guys come off. First one is Ife Ekpeolumu. Ifo is a great player, two-way player if he wanted to be, but he was a defensive player. He was very good in special teams as well. We don't really have a lot of lockdown corners. He was our pretty much only lockdown corner. Justin Hollins was an outside rusher, outside linebacker, edge rusher, defensive end kind of quasi type. He went to Denver. We had Jalen Jelks, who I actually thought was going to go off the board a little earlier because the NFL is so consumed with this pass rusher, edge rusher, speed rusher, whatever you want to call it. And Jalen Jelks fits that mold as well. But Justin Hollins had the better Senior Bowl. Justin Hollins won the defensive player of the game for the Senior Bowl and had a great week. So he really impressed scouts with that one. And then Tony Brooks-James came off the board afterward and signed with the Atlanta Falcons. Kato Dillon got hooked up. I mean, we had a plethora of guys go on. So everybody who declared or who left to go to the draft, who thought they were going to go, signed with somebody.
Ryan, of course, you're not an NFL scout, and neither am I. People ask me all the time how guys project to the next level, and I can make my suggestion, and then they dive into particular NFL teams, expecting me to know the roster capacity and the 2-depth chart and so forth to try to project and whether that person's going to get playing time and how they fit, or should the Giants draft an offensive lineman. That sort of thing. So not necessarily going that way, but just in regards to your feel for who you liked at the collegiate level out of that group and who you would like to see succeed, or maybe based on what you've read, may have a better shot than others. Of course, we could go down the list in regards to the order they were selected would give us some indication, but just your thoughts in that direction.
Yeah, I always think there's sleepers. And, you know, the NFL, they do a great job of scouting. They do a great job with their draft. They spend a lot of money and a lot of energy on it. But I tend to think a lot of NFL guys are third, fourth round guys. There's a lot of guys out there who have made their way. They weren't a first round pick, they weren't a second round pick. I like Ifo. I think Ifo Ekpeomu goes to the Seahawks. It's that Legion of Boom they're trying to rebuild. There's a lot of opportunity in that backfield. I think he can play a little bit of safety, a little bit of corner. I think he can help on special teams. So I tend to think that he has the best opportunity to make a roster. I also think Justin Hollins, though, you know, the way defense is played in the NFL, you have to have multiple edge rushers. Obviously, they have Von Miller, one of the best in the league with Denver. So I tend to think you have a guy there who might be able to make something happen. And I tend to think Jalen Jelks might be able to make something happen as well. I still think he probably needs about 30 extra pounds of muscle to hang in the NFL. It's a definitely different league. But those three guys, I think, have an opportunity.
Ryan, let us know what you got working on your YouTube channel these days.
Yeah, I just hang out pretty much in the fall. You know, we do it every week. We do as many videos as possible in the fall because, you know, football season is really the main thing. We do a video on the Ducks each week. We do a video on Pac-12. We do a video on National. And then we kind of follow that throughout the year and keep us everything ready to go before the bowl season. I go through the whole bowl prediction. And then I go to the Duck game and give the video footage of the game, go through the highlight reels. In the wintertime, we kind of talk about basketball a little bit. Ducks are pretty good in basketball as well. Sweet 16 this year. So we get into the basketball as well. In the spring, we kind of hang out. We do some football talk. We do some other sort of talk. You know, we'll do some random stuff like the classic top 10 plays or top 10 offensive players or defensive players, any of that kind of random talk. But then we get right back into it in the fall. We're going to get ready to go. This is going to be a huge year for Oregon because we start the year with Auburn. So we'll have a lot of discussion this summer. We'll have a lot of talk about Auburn. We'll break that thing down 6 ways from Sunday. I really had a great time when I went to the national championship with the Auburn fans. The Auburn fans were very, very good people. It felt like they were really good, and it was a great opportunity. So hopefully that same thing happens again. We go back to Jerry's World. We have a great game for that Labor Day weekend and start this thing off right.
That's nice to hear about the Auburn fans. I'm not saying that they necessarily have a bad reputation, but I think most football powers fan bases have a bad reputation just because, oh, they must be obnoxious, they win, whatever. So it's nice to hear that you had a good time with the Auburn fans.
Yeah, well, those places tend to be the real church. You know, you don't get a whole lot of bandwagon fan when you're at the national championship and you got to pay the money to get there and be there on their dime. That's pretty much your alumni group. That's your really heavy hitter booster group. And my family is very connected to the U of O. 3 generations in the U of O. My boy will be 4th generation. So we're very deeply connected. So again, sometimes the riffraff tends to not be there at the national championship game.
Hey, Ryan, you mentioned this just a few minutes ago, just kicking around topics during the spring, during the downtime, and I got one here for you. The next time we jump on board, you can mull this one over, and you can take the list as far as you want, number 1 or 1 through 10 or 1 through 3. Best wins, most exhilarating wins since you've been a fan.
Oh,
most
yeah.
Excruciating losses. Best player, maybe in the history of the program or just maybe since you've been watching. Favorite player since you've been watching, best player now, which I guess we can fill in the blank pretty easily, but
for sure.
And maybe your favorite player that's currently on the team as well.
Yeah, I'd love to go through all those. We got plenty of time.
Good stuff. Ryan, we appreciate the time, sir.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.